Hi, and welcome to LinkedIn for Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Julia Zata, a LinkedIn strategist and ghostwriter, and lover of all things practical when it comes to visibility strategies. This podcast is for service-based business owners who want to build their brand on LinkedIn, attract new clients, collaborators, and speaking engagements without overthinking every post or sounding like a corporate robot. And yes, we're going to keep it actionable and fun. Let's dive in. Before we get into today's episode, I want to share a quick review from a listener. It's from Beza26, who left this review on Apple Podcast, a great resource for entrepreneurs. I've followed Julia on LinkedIn for a while, and this podcast is a perfect complement to the content she shares on LinkedIn. The episodes are short and sweet with clear practical advice and steps to follow. I've had a number of light bulb moments just in the few episodes I've listened to so far. Thank you, Julia. Thank you so much, Beza26. I loved reading your review. And if you're a regular listener who's been enjoying the podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you left a review too on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find the show. So today's episode is all about a question I've been getting a lot lately, and it's probably a question you're asking yourself too. The question is, how do I get more engagement on my LinkedIn posts? And I get why people ask this because LinkedIn has always been a platform where engagement has been the norm. More engagement means more reach. The more comments you get on your post, the more the algorithm sees that your content is valuable, so it pushes it out to other people. But that's not the full picture anymore. LinkedIn has been shifting over the last few years. I remember signing up during the pandemic, which is when people were the most active. Obviously, we had a lot more time on our hands, and LinkedIn rewarded engagement by pushing posts further out there. But after the pandemic, they started to shut that down slowly because LinkedIn surveyed its users and realized that people were complaining that LinkedIn was becoming like Facebook, and they found that a lot of the comments they were getting notified about felt irrelevant. So now you don't get as many notifications about people in your network who are commenting on other posts. They've really dialed that down. And now they're focusing more on authority building. The LinkedIn algorithm prioritizes as authority content posts that people save. In fact, I recorded an episode about this based on data from Authored Up, which is a platform that gives you in-depth LinkedIn analytics. But the Authored Up founder shared how, according to their data, saved posts get a lot more reach than posts with a lot of comments because the algorithm views saved posts as valuable content that people want to come back to later. And so it prioritizes that over comments nowadays. Another thing we need to keep in mind when it comes to fewer comments is that the feed over the last few years has changed. LinkedIn has developed some new feature like thought leadership ads, boosted posts. We also have suggested posts. So when LinkedIn's algorithm suggests posts that it thinks that you'll like. So all this is crowding up the feed, and it means that your connections are seeing less of what you post compared to in the previous years, right? So these changes have been occurring gradually over the last few years and have cumulatively affected the reach of your posts and the engagement that you get. And on top of all that, I recently clocked a new social media insight on LinkedIn that Andy Lambert shared. You should definitely follow him. He said that user behavior on LinkedIn is changing as well. So people are generally commenting less on posts. People are sharing content with each other via the DMs more. They are saving posts and they are chatting in the DMs. So people's behavior has changed on LinkedIn, and people are, as a trend, commenting less on posts. They're less visible publicly, but they're still active. And then the last thing I want you to keep in mind is on LinkedIn, some decision makers are called silent buyers. These are people who don't need to build a brand. Therefore, they're not publicly commenting on posts because they don't need that visibility, but they're active, just not publicly. And they're seeing what you post and they're making decisions about whether or not to work with you. Now, obviously, this depends on your industry, who your target audience is, who the decision makers are. So not receiving a lot of comments on your posts on LinkedIn right now is the norm. There's nothing unusual about that. And so So instead of stressing about how do I get people to engage on my posts, let's change the perspective and think about how can we get more eyes on your posts. So the very first thing I'm going to tell you to do is go out and engage on industry peers and industry adjacent content, right? So whatever industry you're in, you have competitors and you also have other service providers who are targeting a similar audience as you are. And so if you comment on their posts, that will make you visible to their audience. So leave a valuable comment on their posts to increase your visibility. And now on LinkedIn, you can see how many impressions your comments gather when you leave a comment on somebody else's content. So that's a way to measure the quality of your contributions. Besides that, I would also recommend that every time you connect with somebody new, you send a welcome message, you introduce yourself, and you get a conversation started, because oftentimes we overlook our peers and we overlook people in adjacent industries as collaboration opportunities. So when you start conversations in the DMs, it doesn't only have to be with potential clients or people who you would like to work with. So get in the DMs, start conversations, see what opportunities you can open up for yourself. And besides starting conversations in the DMs, try and book calls so you can talk to people face to face, because nothing builds rapport faster than seeing somebody and talking to them in real time. And I'm saying this because nowadays I speak to a lot of service providers who are just hoping that by posting content, they will get inbound leads. And that might be the case, but it's going to take you a lot longer if you just expect your content to do all the heavy lifting for you. Your content is like the storefront. It showcases what you can do for people. It shows that you're active. It shows that you're a thought leader. But then you have to go out and drum up some business for yourself by starting conversations, by introducing yourself, by asking for an introduction to somebody else, or letting people know what you're actively working on so that they can help you. And this is why DM conversations and moving conversations from the DMs onto a call is super important. So to recap, what I want you to take away from today's episode is to not worry so much about getting engagement on your content, and to start asking yourself, how can I be more visible to the people I want to connect with? Am I creating content that's worth saving? Am I starting conversations in the DMs? Am I going out and engaging on other people's posts so that I can be visible to their network? Because the people who are getting clients from LinkedIn right now, they're networking, they're building their influence, they're using LinkedIn to get to know people who can open new opportunities for them. And if you're a coach or a consultant who's listening to this and thinking, okay, I want to build a much stronger LinkedIn presence so it actually supports my lead generation, I would love to work with you. I offer a 60-minute consultation, which I call a power hour, where I look at your profile, your content, your positioning. I help identify what's missing and give you the exact steps to fix it. When you book a power hour with me, you will walk away with a clear direction, the answer to the stuck points that you're experiencing right now on LinkedIn, and next steps that you can implement immediately. My power hours cost $195, and you can lock in your session right now with the link in the show notes. All right, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week. Thanks for tuning in to LinkedIn for Entrepreneurs. If you found this episode helpful, please share it on LinkedIn or on your favorite social media platform. And if you really want to make my day, leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps more business owners find this show. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.